Hello and good afternoon, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to this matinee edition of the Lali-Ho League Swiss Rounds. King Guyot has summoned us once again to witness an amazing competition. Today we have two hand-selected competitors, that is LUF and profcory. Both of these competitors competed in our last tournament, which was Highway to the Three Miss Zone. LUF is relatively new. That was his first tournament. profcory's been around the block a little bit more. LUF has a few dozen races logged with our race bot, whereas profcory has over 120 races logged with our race bots, so definitely a little more experience there. But I know that LUF has been practicing a lot, so anything can happen. I am joined in the booth today by Nth. And what do you think of our two randomly selected objectives for the day?
Well, I think, if you're going to get a boss hunt, you probably want it to be one of the easy bosses, so you're not stuck, finding, beat Ogo Pogo and it happens to be on the hook route or something like that. So, I think it's a pretty easy time. It's always a good time when there's a guaranteed Edward somewhere as well. I know there will be plenty of people in the chat who will be very thrilled with that. I know I'm also one of them, so actually pretty excited to see this.
Yep, we do have that spoon flag turned on, so Edward can in fact use the highest attack weapon in the game. For those of you who may be new to this tournament, in order to get the crystal, we need to defeat Zeromus. Our runners will have to complete 4 of the 5 objectives you can now see on your screen. The first 3 are always the same, which are take the Twin Harp to Cave Magnus and listen to some cool tunes, have Kokol forge the Legend Sword with the Adamant, and trade away the pink tail to the tail collector. The last 2 objectives are randomly selected, which makes every race fresh, new, and a little bit different.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a change from the 3 Miss Zone too, because in the 3 Miss Zone we also had those randomly selected objectives, but those were randomly selected from the quest pool. And all the randomly selected objectives for the Swiss rounds in the LaliHo League are selected from the character hunt and boss hunt pools. So that's a pretty interesting twist from what we might have seen last tournament.
Yep, another big change is we have a new flag. Rather than starting with their default equipment, each character will start with 1 randomly selected low-level weapon, and that is it. So you are not going to get a black belt from Edge. You are not going to get a lunar staff from Fusoya.
Yeah, and that combined with, I believe, another new flag. It might have been existing before, but that limits the treasure that they can find in the non-trap chests to being tier 6 and below. It does make it a bit harder to find some of that stronger stuff later on as well.
Yep, the other big new change for this tournament is the Vanilla Giant. D-Machine Grinds were incredibly popular for our previous tournaments, but now if you go in the Giant, you have to complete it. But it looks like we're getting started, and our Pelham is joined by a Sid, and an Octomam has given us a Twin Harp. So we already have 1 objective we can go and complete whenever we feel like it.
Yep, and it's always exciting to see music as an objective, so it's one of the more interesting parts of the flag set to me, and knowing that we'll be pretty much guaranteed to see it at this point, because obviously they have it, someone will go and do it pretty early on, is definitely a nice bonus.
Yep, the one difficulty with that spot is the boss in the Cave Magnus does have very high magic defense, so Pelham not going to be able to do a lot of work there.
Yeah, and with that Sid that they have with it, he can do a good amount of damage if you get him the right stuff, but he's not ever going to be, a top-tier damage dealer.
That is for sure. And it looks like profcory going to do some boss checks right away. In the waterfall, we get an Antlion, Bad place to see that. You'd rather have Antlion probably somewhere a little more difficult. And right now we got some looting going on. Profcory heading to Damsian Castle to loot, while LUF heading towards Baron. Both of these are places with high densities of treasure chests.
Yep, and he'll be very happy with what he just saw in the Baron Inn, as well as he did see that the character from there is that Edward that is one of the objectives. The only downside being that the boss that you can see there is one of those Lunar Sparkle bosses, so it could be a bit of a rough time depending on which one it is.
Yep, and I would like to remind the audience that it is only a lunar monster if it is from the subterranean of the moon. Otherwise, it's just a sparkling boss fight. I'm sorry, that was unnecessary.
No, I'm laughing and I can't stop at the moment.
I've literally been holding on to that joke for 2 months.
You did mention that you did have that one joke that you've been holding on to, and that was a very good one. I appreciate it.
Right now, we see both of our runners taking advantage of the Dwarven starter pack. We changed around the starter packs a little bit for the newest version of Free Enterprise. The Dwarven starter pack includes a Dwarf Axe, very appropriate, and it also includes some mage gear. We see right now profcory equipping that wizard hat, that wizard robe, and also a rune ring, all of which are included in that new starter pack.
Yeah, and is the rune ring magnetic as well? I can't remember off the top of my head, so that could also be a pretty good bonus if people want to go down to Cave Magnus early, because obviously you can just slap those onto everyone, if I'm remembering correctly, and they are magnetic, and just not have to worry about that early knocking that's not magnetic. Thank you, chat.
Yeah, Dr. Cossack's saying it is not. I'm actually not sure. But we find a tiny summoner girl facing off against a giant evil wall. We do have the Hobbs flag turned on. So that means if we do acquire this Rydia, we can take her to the front of Mount Hobbs, and she will learn one randomly selected summon.
And that could be a very, very good bonus early on because, you know, Sid's all right, but they're kind of lacking in like a really strong attacking option at the moment. So if they can get that good summon onto Rydia, that can at least help with that a little bit.
Yep, completing that boss fight also gets some levels on Palom. His level 2 elemental spells unlock very early, so it's always nice to get those right away. Looks like LUF also deciding to pick up this Rydia.
Yeah, and it's not... I mean, if you're going to find Evil Wall, you probably want to find it in a spot like this, too. It's not really going to pose too much of a threat to our runners at this point.
No, both the physical attack and the speed are relatively low here, so just a nice, slow and steady boss fight. But speaking of which, profcory is in fact going to go check what summon is currently available to Rydia. And that is Mage, I believe. Imp! Okay, I didn't know that sprite. Well, the Imp spell is a slight improvement over Rydia's default Chocobo summon, but only slightly.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I mean, you already have the Black Mage that's going to get your spells early on. You're probably kind of hoping that you could get something to make that Rydia helpful early on as well. If this was Threema Zone 2, I would have expected, you know, at this point, Rydia's not doing much. You can just knock her out. But since the flag to disable slingshotting, disable the low-level EXP boost is on, I expect it's just going to be a long time with a low-level Rydia that can't really do much.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rydia's HP growth is just, well, pretty darn bad. Which doesn't really make her a viable endgame party member most of the time. She just requires too much leveling. But now we see Professor Cory heading down to the Antlion Cave. This is a very common early game check. Not only is the boss down here relatively easy stat-wise, but also it's another treasure chest dense area.
Yeah, and I think that's probably about the best play at this moment, because you also probably at this point want to get a few levels up so you can get that Edward that you know is an objective, get that Cave Magnus objective done fairly early on too, because if you find the right things there, then this seed is going to be a very, very quick one.
Yeah, that Baron Inn spot can be either very easy or very difficult depending on exactly what bosses show up. Let's see. Ooh, I see a black robe in one of these antlion chests. That's going to be great for either one of our mages.
Yeah, I've seen that. And I also saw the Dragoon armor in one of the chests. If they find a cane along the way, they're starting to get some things that could work for that as well.
Yep, some good loot in this antlion cave. And it looks like we will be fighting Ashura in the bottom of the antlion cave. This could be a little bit of trouble, but it looks like that Cid is putting out pretty good damage. Of course, Ashura being the boss, the white mage boss, can very easily cure herself. Like that. Oh dear.
Yeah. This could be a long fight if they don't get that loot going properly.
Now, our starter pack does come with a few Star Veils. You could always do the double Star Veil trick, where you Star Veil one of your characters, Star Veil again, and that reflects off the first Star Veil and goes on to Ashura. But then again, Star Veils are very valuable, and you might want to save them for a more difficult boss. But it does look like Cid has the power just to DPS through it. And let's see what we get. A pink tail! Well, geez Louise! We already know where 3 of our objectives are, and they are just sitting out wide open for us.
Yeah, I mean, if you find, guards at one of these other checks guarding the hook, then that's pretty much the seed over as soon as you get a way of actually getting to the Z fight at the end.
Yep, that is true. We need the hook in order to take the hovercraft to visit the tail trader. So we can't reach the tail trader without a hook. And we do still need a way to Zeronis.
But if you were looking for conditions favorable to a very fast jet seed, this is probably about as close as you can get so far without seeing everything you need.
Yep, and LUF also making it through that Ashura, taking advantage of those level 2 elemental spells from Palom. And looks like profcory going straight into the Fubul Gauntlet fight here. Let's see what boss we get. Ooh, a Sparkle. And a Pale Dim. The Kingdom of Baron has decided to send a very pale dragon to attack Fabul today. This shouldn't be too bad. The physical attack here is not great. The one problem is Pale Dim absorbs all elemental spells, so a Palom here is not going to be the most useful.
Yeah, it is pretty okay to find early on, where pretty much all their damage right now is coming out of that Cid anyways, outside of that Palom, so they definitely have enough to get through it anyways. I think you probably would have hoped for maybe even one of the more difficult Sparkle bosses at this early spot, though.
Now, LUF just stumbled upon something nice. There is a Sylph summon for sale in Fabul Castle. That is going to make that Rydia much, much more useful. Sylph is a endgame summon in the vanilla game. It has a draining effect, so it both attacks the enemy and it heals. And we do have the Sylph glitch turned on right now. So there is a glitch in the vanilla game, whereas if you use the Sylph spell, it forgets to deduct your MP. So as long as you have 25 MP to invest, you can cast that Sylph spell as many times as you want. And it looks like we get a Earth Crystal from the King of Fabul. That opens up a bunch of different checks for us. The Earth Crystal opens up the Tower of Zot, which has 2 character checks, 1 key item check, and 2 boss checks, which is a lot of things for one area.
Yeah, and it also, if they find a Rosa along the way and end up taking her, it does teach her exit as well, which is a pretty huge boost depending on how it is, although it might not be too useful in this very overworld heavy seed that we've got so far, where it seems like they might not even need to go underground at this rate.
Yep, it looks like Professor Cory is also investing in that Sylph summon. Oh, I think Pale Dim has a summon counter. Oh, it doesn't matter. Sylph's killed him.
Well, if it did, then we would have seen it. I did also notice that Earth Hammer in the Fabul shops as well, which could come in handy if they want to buy that for Sid, if they ever want to just use the Quake cast off of that to help get through some of the kind of easier but more annoying bosses, like if they find the alt gauntlet somewhere.
And Prof Cory doing some very smart routing here. We have a Twin Harp, we have an Earth Crystal. Both of those quests start in the land of Troya. So Prof Cory heading to Troya, probably going to do both of those checks.
And he's also found vampires in the Troya shop as well, which, with how fast the seed is going, if you end up really jetting through it and needing to do, low-level strats on the Z fight, that'll enable those.
Yeah, and I know Prof Cory knows those strats too. I've been practicing those strats. I haven't quite gotten the timing down yet, but I think they're super cool. And it looks like Prof Cory might be going to play our favorite game.
Sure does, and LUF has found the Ogopogo fight in the meantime, and that's probably a pretty good place to find it early on. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, especially with that Sylph.
Wait, that treasury!
Ooh, this is a pretty good treasury. I saw a ribbon. I'm seeing a bunch of apples. Those are useful. A coffin, always useful. Inventory boss. Did you know Final Fantasy IV has a limited size inventory?
Yes, because I am still terrible at managing it, and I see this inventory boss pretty constantly.
But all the things, they're so great. I want to keep them all. And some good arrows. I'd say that was a solid treasury. Not the best, not the worst, but solid.
And meanwhile, LUF has gotten through that Baron in check, will pick up the Edward, and has picked up a Baron key for his troubles as well. So that's another overworld check, trying to keep us from needing to go to the moon or anything like that, or underground. So again, we're going to see more of these not too difficult early checks, and this could still be very, very fast.
Yep, a vanilla Baron key here is very convenient because the entrance to the Baron sewers is right next door. You don't even have to leave this map.
Yeah, and with that Octomam at the Beigen spot, that's pretty okay prize too, because it won't be the most difficult time if you decide to go through it.
Yeah, Octomam does have the nice property of getting slower the more arms that you take off of it. So even if it's difficult at the beginning, the more you hit it, the slower it gets. Ooh, and finding a Stardust Rod in the sewers, that's going to be great for our small child mages as well.
Yeah, and if he ends up going to that treasury and getting that second black shirt, then this is looking like a pretty good seed to have that Palom and Rydia for.
Yeah, I have been seeing a disproportionate number of Berserk strats because a lot of the races thus far have had both Cecil and a Crystal Sword, but maybe we'll actually get some Reflect strats today. And Prof Cory now going in for the Edward.
I have to believe he'll have as easy of a time as LUF did with this one. if you're gonna find Ogopogo, you want to find him early on, and he's not really doing much here.
Yeah, this spot does not have much HP at all. And you got that Rydia to do a little cure. The one disadvantage of the Ogopogo there is it hacks off a bunch of your HP.
Which
But
is
yeah, I think.
very unfortunate when you have to fight this Dark Knight fight right after, but Sid should have enough to just sail through it.
Yep, and LUF going into the Octomam fight. I don't foresee this being too hard. We got level 2 spells for Palom. Edward's just gonna inspect the floor very closely. And we got Sylph on Rydia. We have a good axe on Sid. This should go pretty smoothly.
Yeah, it's very important, any good monarch needs to make sure that any castle they're in is well constructed, so he's going to make sure that that floor is very, very well made, as I'm sure will meet his very high standards.
I know, look at that cobblestone. It looks so expertly laid.
Might have to do some repairs after the giant octopus has been swimming through it, but,
How is the octopus swimming through the cobblestone? I love the silly situations that this randomizer causes sometimes.
Yeah, I never really thought of that until just now when I was talking about the floor, so...
And it looks like today the false king of Baron is a blue robe. We'll see if that's water hag or a gauntlet. It is a water hag, so this is a free fight. We just bop his head a few times, and that's the end of the fight. Unfortunately, this is a terrible spot to see water hag because it is such a free boss. You're hoping for it at a harder boss location. But what you're gonna see, Anna's like, Edward, please stop inspecting the floors. Please fight. The floors are great.
She does say to believe in himself, though, and I believe that he believes that he's doing good work right now and is following that instruction.
But it looks like our water fiend got demoted. Instead of a giant blue turtle, it was like, you know what? I'm taking the day off. Water hag, you're in charge.
Yeah, and in some ways you can make like a parallel between Baigan's snake hands and Octomam's like octopus tentacles, so Tella as a reward is pretty okay.
Yeah, in the last tournament, Tella was like the best utility character, but because of that vanilla giant flag, he's definitely lost a little bit of his power.
Yeah, and especially with I forgot where I was going with that, actually. Never mind.
That's fine. Commentary is hard. Don't worry, I'm also barely keeping up.
Going a bit too fast for me to keep up on it.
This seed is actually like blazing by here. But anyway, in the Baron basement, we have a darkness crystal. Well, now this seed is blown wide open. Going to the moon now for actually fighting bosses is probably going to be a little bit difficult because we're a little low on levels. It looks like LUF has decided to power up that newly acquired Tella. Of course, Tella only gets his full suite of spells if you complete the trials at the top of Mount Ordeals. I actually like this move too. We still have 2 boss hunts we're looking for. We're looking for the guards because it's an objective, and we're also looking for the Mist Dragon. And Mount Ordeals here has 3 different boss slots, so high probability of something we need being there.
Anything that you can get done quickly at this point that rewards a key item, you might as well do, because, you're pretty much a hook away from being in full-on go mode at this point. Well,
and we find
guards.
we find an Odin up here. Pelham does have lit too, though, so that should be the end of that. Hi, Odin. Bye, Odin.
You know, I did not know growing up that Odin fight was weak to lightning, and just had the worst time with it and started playing this, and yeah, I know now.
I actually knew that one because I was fascinated by the library in the Land of the Summoned Monsters. And the book, one of the books in the library actually tells you that.
It's interesting. I did not know that either. And LUF has found this mom bomb fight here, which also probably won't pose too much of a problem for him.
No, we got lots of AoE. Once this bomb splits off, if it even makes it to the splitting phase, it's going to be super easy to take out.
Yeah, I'm really interested in whether or not he can get this down before it splits. I kind of assume he can, but
I feel like he's gonna. I feel like the Sylph should do it. Let's see how correct my instincts are. Not quite. Meanwhile, profcory, of course, having no problems with that water hag.
Yeah, I think, that one fire is just going to take out all the bombs, and LUF is through that as well. So we're about to see at least what the key item reward is for ordeals, I believe.
Yep. It's interesting to note, we have a way to the moon, but we still don't have a way underground. Of course, I believe safety checks are on, so there will be a way underground on the Earth.
Yeah, unfortunately, basically everywhere on Earth is open. We do find the crystal sword drop if they find a Cecil, so that would be very helpful, but still...
Oh, big news! Our guards are on the top of the mountain. That is another objective complete for LUF.
Yeah, this is definitely a bit of a jet seed, unless that hook or everything else is really, really, really well hidden.
Yep, because in order to, we need the hook, because we either have to forge or turn in the pigtail, and both of those, well, I shouldn't phrase it that way. We need a hook for a pigtail or underground access to forge a sword. One of those two. It looks like profcory is heading up to the moon. It'll be interesting to see if he's just doing a character/shop check, or if he's actually gonna try to do some sort of grind or check for easy boss fights.
I believe if he wanted, he could look for a reaction grind, if I'm correct at this point. If he wanted to get a few early levels to breeze through everything else, definitely going to go up and check that character, though, which, I mean, if that's something strong, then that might actually be quicker than LUF just sort of hitting the gas and going for it like he is right now.
Yep, I'm a little bit surprised that neither of our runners have done that twin harpy yet, but then again, we don't really have a lot of physical attack right now, and that particular location does have a lot of magic defense.
Yeah,
oh, maybe. I might have spoke too soon here.
I think it's definitely possible that LUF might be going for it right now. I mean, he could also be going for the Earth Crystal because it's two more bosses, pretty quick run up, more characters if you want to try and find like a specific character to help you through where you are right now. Like if you want to try and see if you can hunt down a Cecil for that crystal sword that he got at the top of Mount Ordeals, that would be pretty big.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I also have found on these flags, Rosa on the moon. What a great find. Rosa is the best white mage. I love Porum, don't get me wrong. But Rosa's HP growth is just so good. Oh, and it looks like we're ditching our bard for a white mage.
It's very disappointing, but understandable.
That's fine. Because our players have a twin harp, it is likely we'll be seeing Edward once again before the end of the seed. And it looks like LUF is heading toward Cave Magnus. This is very understandable. LUF already having 2 achievements under his belt, might as well go get that third.
And profcory has found some coffins on the moon as well, which could help out with any grind you might end up doing. So pretty good thing to find there.
Yep, also makes those boss fights without the boss bit super speedy.
I'm interested in seeing where he goes from here, because if he doesn't go up ordeals like LUF did, that could be a pretty big deciding factor in where things go from here.
That is true. It does look like profcory is going to head up the mountain, so this is going to be advantageous for them.
Yep, and they'll both know that they have those three objectives that they've got completed or able to complete. So really at this point in time, it is just a battle for who finds either a hook or underground access, which in this case would be magma key plus adamant plus legend sword. So probably the hook, but still.
I see the harps coming out in chat, and that is because if you are new to this randomizer, in the vanilla game, Edward will play a fun little song on his harp to scare away the dark elf or weaken the dark elf. And our great developers over at the workshop have randomized that tune. They've come up with so many different I'm being told 242 different harp arrangements, so I'm gonna be quiet here and listen to the music. And here we see LUF experiencing the high magic defense of this slot, as Sylph does exactly 1 damage to Mylon Z. Sid's got a pretty good axe, though, and that's probably what's gonna get LUF through this fight. Smart move putting the fire arrows on Pelham so he can actually do a little damage.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a slow fight, a little bit of a grind, but it'll be a stable one. So there he is through it already, and we're about to see what this reward is. And cross your fingers for a hook for a jet seed if you're still holding on to that hope.
Yep, and that song was the Overworld theme from Final Fantasy II, a favorite of mine for sure.
And you know, I always love when we get the Final Fantasy II arrangements, as we do see the magma key here. So there's underground access.
Yep, LUF making all the right checks here. Meanwhile, profcory has made it up, is going to be super happy to see these guards. Those guards were amazed by that unexpected meteor shower and just disappeared.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. You know, you're up there guarding the top of this mountain, and suddenly you just have some meteors thrown at you, and that's just the end of that for you. But, you know, it is what it is. At least they got paid well for standing up there, I imagine.
I don't know how well the Baron military pays. So this is interesting. LUF literally has access to, I shouldn't say that, but they have access to the entire underground, the entire moon. The seed is his oyster.
Yeah, I have to imagine he'll go underground, check those 2 free key item checks at the bottom of Feymarch and Sheila 1, and, you know, at this point in time, you kind of just got to keep doing those freebies and hope you find that one piece that'll get you to the end already.
Yep. At this point, we only need one piece to complete Objective 3, and that is a hook. Because we already have a pigtail, we just need to be able to get to the trader. Now, for Objective number 2, we need 2 pieces. We don't have a Legend Sword or an Adamant Rock.
Wouldn't that be interesting too if those 2 free like key item checks that you can get to underground ended up being the Adamant Sword and the Legend Sword and the Adamant just right after it made you think that you were going to end up doing the Pinktail objectives instead?
Yeah, and I mean, Rando is that way. You'll think, yeah, this seed is definitely going this way, and then you'll find out, no, it wasn't going that way at all. And it looks like we're going to get a replay of music pretty quickly here, which is good because I really like this song.
Yeah, this is, as I was going to say before, that magma key just sort of blindsided me and felt like I absolutely had to talk about it right then. You know, the Final Fantasy II arrangements are really good when they get transposed into the harp for this, so I'm always really excited when we get one of those.
profcory actually taking the Magus save spot, the Cave Magnus save spot. That's one a lot of runners skip, actually.
I'm interested in why he's just, you know, a bit nervous about this fight, because he's not entirely sure he has the party and the levels and the items for it, or if that's just something that he normally does.
Meanwhile, LUF finding hourglasses in Tamra, the underground village. Why can't I think of the name of this village? Oh, let's see if we get a seed validation. No, that's fine. It's a serious race. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to know, but at least he knows at this point in time what he's doing himself. So as long as he's, you know, confident in himself, that's all that matters. I do see LUF going back to Dwarf Castle, though. It looks like he might be checking that next.
I wouldn't be surprised, but we are getting our encore, so I'm going to be quiet for another 30 seconds or so. And over on LUF's side, we have found. Sorry, I messed something up. Audio, it's hard. Over on LUF's side, we have found the gauntlet. We do have the alt gauntlet turned on, so wherever the gauntlet is, it will draw in monsters from the surrounding area. In this case, it is drawing in monsters from directly outside the castle. This shouldn't be too bad. Pelham has Quake. Tella has spells. A lot of these monsters are weak to ice. So one thing to note, though, is this will actually be really good experience because all of these monsters will just give their default experience.
Yeah, that'll be very helpful. You know, there's a sort of tendency when you run into the alt gauntlet to think, oh, this is not great. I'm going to be here a while, but that might not actually be the worst thing right now.
Yep, the one thing I'm a little worried about is having enough HP for the second boss fight here, because that's not true. We got Tella. Tella's a good backup healer, so I don't think what I was about to say... Well, now Tella's inspecting the floor. Tella and Edward.
This is indeed a very good floor.
I know. Look, it's gorgeous. It's polished crystal.
I would have these in my house if I could.
Oh, me too. They'd probably be really hard to maintain. How would you mop that? What do you mop crystal with? I don't even know.
Well, hopefully we'll find out that answer, and I imagine at some point in time soon. Sorry, I just...
Scholar Sakitty says you mop crystal with foo. I buy it.
You know, that does make sense. We are seeing profcory going up Zot now, though. And so now we're starting to see that bit of divergence. And if this Zot pays off, that could, you know, obviously slingshot him into the lead. It's good that we're finally seeing these runners sort of split apart a little bit, because they've kind of been shadowing each other up to this point.
Yeah, and it's actually been an extremely close match so far. These runners are pretty much matching each other check for check.
Yep, and, you know, we do know that no matter what Corey finds up here, he's not going to find that alt gauntlet. So, you know, it won't be a slow Zot by any means, because pretty much all those really slow bosses are kind of out of the way, aside from Dr. Luggage.
We find another Tella, and I'm afraid this is a wyvern. It is. Oh, Megan! Oh, Pelham with the dodge! What a clutch dodge!
I was not expecting... I didn't even know that could be dodged until just now.
But the nuke is the nuke. The nuke got him. Oh! Ooh! Oh, that hurts. That is a big time sink, unfortunately. Whew! Yeah, I don't blame LUF here. Oh, that's rough. After investing all that time into the gauntlet just to get a mega nuke directly to the face. That might be a big deciding factor here.
Not sure how good Valvalis at Magus Sister spot is either at this point.
I feel like this place has a lot of magic defense, so this is... I feel like this is gonna be a slow one. That's my instincts, so we'll see how that bears out. Ooh, elixirs. Too bad they're so expensive. We do have the 1/4 shop flag on, so items only sell for 1/4 of their value. Meanwhile, we got some good-looking bosses in the Fey March. We have a Bahamut and a Magus Sisters. That Bahamut's very doable as long as you have some Star Veils, and we do have a Tella that knows Wall.
Yeah, that might be worth doing. He is going to save right now, so he might be thinking, okay, I'm gonna go get this probably free Bahamut out of the way.
Yep, not even saving because the HP is not going to matter when those Mega Nukes are just going to bounce off walls. Meanwhile, profcory struggling on this Valvalis, and I don't blame him. This is kind of an ugly spot for Valvalis. Oh, but we're gonna see the swag Meteo. I wonder how hard that's gonna hit. I'm really curious.
I'm curious too, mostly because I haven't seen Meteo being cast in months, and I actually forget how hard it normally hits to begin with.
Pretty hard, but Valvalis and the magical tornado magic defense. Also, it takes an extremely long time to cast, and Tella could easily be taken out by physical attacks while charging up. Yeah, that got through pretty good. Swag Meteo is gonna save the day here.
Not too bad, but, you know, now he has no MP.
It is better than the, 100 or so damage that Sid's putting out right now, and all the magic is missing. This would actually be a little easier if Rosa had some good arrows, because her aim attack does get through the evasion increase.
Yeah, at the moment, Rose has been having a hard time just staying alive, but he is through that Valvalis fight.
You go, Tella. Meanwhile, LUF's Bahamut fight just going slow and steady, keeping up those walls, healing with Sylph, just throwing out damage when possible. Dragon goes rar.
Yeah, it's not the fastest fight, but he'll get through it. It's just gonna be that slow grind getting there.
Yep, I was really impressed with that Valvalis fight. That was good. Good job, profcory. Tella, looking in the mirror, seeing another Tella. That means 2 of our duplicates have been Tellas.
But what is left to be that boss with that lunar sparkle? Because that pretty much just leaves
Plague, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe we have not seen Plague yet. And I have a strong feeling profcory will not take Porum, as we already have Rosa. And she's leveled up a good bit at this point, too.
There could still be D-lunars as well, which might be a little bit sketchier than dealing with Plague at this point.
Yeah. Both of those bosses are doable. Meanwhile, LUF's slow and steady battle has resulted in success. Let's see if this time investment was worth it. Just a power shirt. Unfortunate. Though that'll go nice on our Sid.
That is really unfortunate. He's been having a bit of a rough time so far, got through that alt gauntlet and then found Wyvern. Got through that long Bahamut fight, got power. So he's not having the best time down here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's feeling a little bit behind here. profcory just finding some guards. This should be a nice, simple boss fight. Because they don't have the boss bit, there's so many different ways to handle them. You can use weak, you can use stop, you can use coffins, you can take out their leader and they'll just start poking themselves. You can just use the DPS.
Just quake and they all fall over, it seems.
I mean, I would probably fall over if I was in an earthquake.
Probably, depending on how strong it was. I did feel an earthquake once, but it was far enough away that it didn't really throw me at all. So I don't really know how strong of an earthquake you need to get knocked off your feet there, but it was definitely strong enough for those officers and soldiers.
And of course, the real prize for completing the Tower of Zot is Rosa now has exit. But the real prize is a package. Right now, we already found our Edward, so the character check is not super useful, though a Cecil would be nice with that crystal sword. But we still haven't seen our Misty Dragon friend, so it's entirely possible they could still be hiding behind that package.
Yep, and the thing is, I do feel like profcory is pretty set in what he has for a party. He might slot in that Cecil for that crystal sword usage, but I kind of feel like he might be happy with what he has so far, and Kane is definitely not going to be a tempting enough prize for him to go through with that.
Yep, that is a very long cutscene to get that character. At the top of the tower here, we find the Dark Imps, the other boss that doesn't have the boss bit. So once again, there's about 7 different ways to handle these guys.
Yep, they've been moved upstairs for the day, and, unfortunately, a very short-lived promotion for them, but hopefully they'll give something good for the effort.
Yep, it was company meeting today, so they all gathered on the top floor. And we are rudely interrupting their meeting. profcory finally heading underground here.
And he might not have had as hard of a time with the checks that he did as LUF did, but those didn't really pan out either. Zot only ended up being the package and 2 characters they didn't want. So all he really got out of that was the experience and the friends he made along the way.
Yeah, it's I still feel like it's really close. They've done different checks, but they've done approximately the same number of checks. Man, I forgot how much HP this top of Lower Babel spot has. You might want to use a weak here. That takes away that disadvantage. Trying to hit the stone with Tella, but accuracy is a little low, but got it. Boom. Boss fight over.
Yeah, I was wondering, he was having a hard time with that. I was worried that Tella might have broken his glasses when he was inspecting the floor earlier, but did end up landing that, and does end up getting a Dragoon Lance for it. So again, not the best prize.
Yep, Keyless Tower not paying off today. I like the boldness, though. Keyless Tower is a gamble. Now, the one nice thing about doing the Keyless Tower is that is a ton of experience, which is going to make your subsequent boss fights go a little bit faster. Now let's see if profcory decides to take on this Bahamut.
Yeah, and at this point, what's left that we haven't checked? It's really just Sheila 1 and the Moon bosses, as well as that Asura spot and the Odin spot beneath Baron Castle. So this has gone from looking like a jet seed into looking like a figure out a way past these difficult bosses seed instead.
Yeah, we still don't know what's behind that wyvern either. Yep, and unsurprisingly, profcory taking on this Bahamut as well. LUF here, gonna go visit Yang, say hi, and then tell Yang's wife all about it. We also still haven't seen that Mist Dragon. That Mist Dragon will allow us to talk to Rydia's mother for a potential key item check. And we're running out of places for that dragon to be. We still have all the moon boss spots. Could be in the Baron basement.
Could still be behind that package because we didn't get far enough in there. profcory saw that Kane and decided against it, so out he went. We don't know what's there yet either.
Yep, there's also the troll location of one of the giant boss spots, and also the default King and Queen Eblin spots. Let's see what Sheila has. She is holding on to just a white shirt. So just took a piece of clothing out of the hamper and is like, you know what, you can have this. And LUF, not even deciding to keep it, just resets out.
This has been a pretty cruel seed in the end so far. You know, it threw everything early, and it's like, okay, you have all of these items, but now you have to go fight one of these bosses.
Okay, just checking the armor shop. I'm like, I don't think we saw Demist yet, but is just checking the armor shop and probably doing the looting. And checking the cave at Demist, which we already know is not anything useful. So, dramatic pause.
This is a bit of a sticky situation for both runners, I think, because I'm not sure either of them are particularly well equipped to take on these other bosses, and unless they might have to just figure out a way of grinding and just do that quickly.
Yep, and while our runners are covering ground that each one has already covered, I would like to remind you that this is only the first of 4 Swiss round races that are happening today. The next race is Harumph versus PK. That is happening over on the Free Enterprise channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Then later tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have Flurry versus Night Dew over on Randomania Main. And last but not least, late tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern, we will have Slippery versus Endoto over on the Free Enterprise channel. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank RPG Limit Break for hosting us. We've been working with them for several years, and nowadays we have so many races that we can't do it all on one channel. So we really appreciate them letting us borrow their channel for this tournament.
Well, we're kind of seeing a little bit of crossing paths here. profcory going to go down that unfortunately disappointing Sheila 1 check and get his white shirt, and now LUF is headed to the moon, so gonna pick up his Rosa. I would imagine probably going to drop off that Edward for it at this point.
Yeah, that would also be my guess.
So we might just be playing a game of chicken here. Who's gonna blink first and go for one of those difficult boss checks, go up to the moon and see if they can find something they can get through, or, you know, try that wyvern again and maybe hope you can get past it.
Yeah, that thing is that wyvern is doable if you turn down your battle speed. But the sad thing is you have to turn down your battle speed before you do the gauntlet, because you do not get any menuing time between those 2 fights. So you're going to have to go through that entire gauntlet with lower battle speed, and that's just going to be so slow.
Yeah, I almost think you'll see her run it, or well, at least you'll see LUF, who already knows what's behind there, maybe even go up to the moon and see if he can find an easy boss up there before he goes back.
Oh, and I think it's going to be profcory's turn here for the bad news. Now, his agility situation is slightly different with this Rosa. I'm curious I don't think it'll be enough, though. He is putting Tella in the middle. That's going to be great. Oh, it's going to be borderline. It's going to be borderline whether he gets that Star Veil off or not. The nice thing is that spot that Wyvern's in right now has very low HP. So it's highly likely a reflected Mega Nuke will just completely take it out. If you get that Star Veil up, oh, this one's going to be close. Can I just also say I like when bosses with multiple sprites are in the Calcobrina spot, because you get to see their little coordinated dance routine.
Yep, and when you think about it with the alt gauntlet, with how many there, it's like a whole, ballet company in this room at the moment doing a coordinated turtle-based ballet.
I'm sorry, but now I want to see a turtle-based ballet. That would be maybe like Ninja Turtles, the ballet.
You've seen Swan Lake, now we're at Turtle Room.
Turtle Pond?
Turtle Pond works.
Ooh, very smart use of the Stardust Rod here. Because that's an item, it doesn't have a long casting time. So that's actually a great way to get the AoE damage very quickly. I like that. That's a smart move, profcory. Yes, to answer Blue Mage Danny, the alt gauntlet replaces the normal in the vanilla game. In Fabul, there'd be this long sequence where you fight a bunch of just like regular monsters from the Baron army. That was a little boring. So a couple of versions ago, we came up with what we called the alt gauntlet. And rather than just those couple of boring enemies, it will draw in enemies from the surrounding area. So depending on where the boss fight is located, it will be different sets of monsters. And it's really interesting because it actually requires runners to have a little bit of knowledge of just the regular random encounters. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite things that have come out over the versions. I'm still fairly new to the community, but I've been sort of watching here and there, and I remember the change when that came out. It was like, wow, this is actually really interesting compared to the initial thing, because if you get this in the wrong spot, it's not a fun time.
Yeah, I think Ogo Pogo is by far the hardest possible gauntlet you can get, because then you get, those glass or the mask enemies, and it is just a mess. Yeah, and I think that one has some of the dragons, like the blue dragon and the red dragons, and oh.
Now, I did notice that LUF going now to Cave Value did leave a save over in front of the Palace on the Moon, so it looks like he's gonna dedicate his time to these moon checks now.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see what we get here. The nice thing, you know what, I'm not gonna say that. The problem is we've already seen a lot of those really easy enemies, with the exception of King and Queen Eblin. Ooh, and a Mylon here. We've already seen Mylon Z, so this has to be Mylon and friends. LUF actually resetting out. I feel like that would be doable, but it depends on your comfort level. Did he get it off? I didn't notice. Miss on the Palom.
Miss on the Rydia as well, and I think he might have this.
That is going to be huge. Just the fact that you're not... Uh-oh. You didn't... Oh, no. Out of Star Veils! Was that true? I'm so baffled. Well, that evens that up.
Yeah, if he was out of Star Veils, then he might have just thought, okay, I'm not getting through this safely, I'm just gonna have to go for it.
Scala giving my answer there. Wyvern counters summons, and not just Bahamut, any summon. So unfortunately, that Sylph was not quite enough to kill Wyvern outright. So he was able to do the counter nuke.
Well, it does look like he's gonna bump it down onto Wyvern standard time and just go through this gauntlet again, which, with that Stardust Rod might not be the worst idea anyways, because he's not going to have a difficult time getting through that.
That is true. Meanwhile, on the other side, LUF has encountered Plague. Now, the nice thing about Plague is Plague actually doesn't do any HP damage whatsoever. Instead, he just can't casts count. Wow, that's hard to say. Casts count on your characters, giving them the Doom status, in which numbers will tick down over their head, and if it hits 0, they die. However, there's several ways to counter this. We are seeing 2 different ways from LUF's battle here. One is if you knock out a character and then revive them, Plague gets very angry and will cast count again, accidentally resetting the timer back to 10. Now, the other one we see is if you are able to get a Star Veil up on a character, Plague will try to cast count. That count will be reflected, and he will get angry again because there's someone without count. Basically, whenever you have a party member without that count status, Plague gets angry and tries to recast the count. He's a very angry eyeball with very pretty purple wings. I love that purple color.
It seems like LUF has indeed found a strategy that he can count on to counter the count status here. So he's probably going to get through this pretty easily, just needs to wait out the timers at this point.
Yep, this is going to be a slow fight, but a safe fight. The nice thing is the experience here will also be nice.
Yep, and if something goes wrong with profcory taking the second stab at Wyvern at this dwarf castle, that could be a pretty big break for him.
The one thing about Wyvern is it's disastrous when you're not expecting it, but it's actually a pretty easy fight when you're expecting it, because you can do things like turn down the battle speed, have Edward hide if Edward's in your party. You can cast Star Veils, you can do some run buffering if you know how to do that. When you're expecting Wyvern, it's not that hard. It's just that if you're not expecting him, he gets ya. He's the Kaizo of Final Fantasy IV, right?
I never thought of it that way, but you're completely right.
It's like a Kaizo block in a Mario hack, It's not that hard if you know it's there, but it's gonna get you that first time.
I think that's kind of shown a little bit of a difference in play styles between these two runners. As LUF hit that Kaizo block, fell into the pit, was like, okay, I'm going to play every other level in this ROM hack instead. And profcory's like, okay, I know where that is. I'm going to try and get my way around it.
Yep. And I still feel like this race is very close. This has actually been very competitive. It doesn't feel like it because they've taken radically different paths, but it is actually really close.
I mean, really, it's just a race to find that hook or a race to find both the Legend Sword and Adamant. So them in different spots, there's no guarantee that this Wyvern has anything particularly useful behind it.
And profcory both turning down the battle speed and doing a little run. Oh, Rydia dodged and she has a Star Veil lined up. Actually, summoning here would be great to get the counter nuke. Oh, Sid actually survived that. Good job, Sid. And he is. He's gonna intentionally proc that counter nuke this time. And knock on wood, that should finish Wyvern off. Between the self damage and the mega nuke damage, it does. Excellent. That was excellent. Good heads up play by profcory there.
I was just surprised that Sid lived through that first hit there.
Me too. He must have some really good magic defensing equipment on right now.
It'll be a little bit before we see the reward, as we do have to go through my absolute favorite cutscene in this game of the Golbez hand slowly crawling its way up and stealing the crystal.
Yeah, I did notice that is one thing they got rid of in the 3D remake. Rather than creepy floating hand, Golbez just magically teleports over to the crystal.
Just really unfortunate. That key item went by so quickly.
I
did
know.
not see what it was, but it did start with T. It does the tower key. Interesting.
Did our tracker or chat catch that? Because that box went by so fast, I didn't see it at all. Tower key. Asuka's saying it's the tower key.
Yeah, I know I saw a T in there, so that must be it. So
Yeah, and I see the tower key in the inventory now, so that must have been it.
Yep, and he has not done Keyless Tower like LUF has, so he'll still have both bosses up there. He'll probably do the whole climb. That's going to be quite appealing to him. If it ends up paying off, then that's going to be a good boon for him.
Yep, LUF just slowly grinding through this plague here. Has been doing an excellent job of keeping everyone going. The one thing I'm worried about is, does he have enough life? But we do have 2 life casters. We have Tella and Rosa both. Nope, Rosa doesn't have life yet. I was wrong.
I'm not sure how much MP that Tella is going to have left at that point, unless he has ethers stashed away somewhere. Oh, there it goes.
Yep, just as we were talking about it, it's through. But getting 3 to 15 levels on all your characters, that's going to be nice. But that was a big time investment. Will it pay off? Just an Artemis bow, which you would have loved to have before this fight. Plague as a flying monster is weak to bows and arrows. So unfortunately, that time investment going unrewarded.
Well, I mean, if that fight and the experience from it offsets a little bit of grinding that he might have to do later on, then that could still be some benefit. So it's not like it's the worst thing in the world if that ended up being a dead check, but it is pretty bad.
You do have an excellent point there. So let's see if profcory is one of the runners that always does the tower key first, or if it's gonna be tower key on the way down. For me, it depends on my levels. If I think those few extra levels from the tower key spot will actually be beneficial when I'm fighting the boss at the top of the tower, I will do it first. Otherwise, I will do it on the way down.
I also think in this situation where you only need 1 key item and you don't know what's on top of this tower, it does incentivize skipping that tower key room at first, because if he goes to the top here, finds a hook, then he might not even bother.
Yeah, because you do, if you do the tower key room, you do have to watch the cutscene at the bottom of the stairs.
Xenocat in the chat also pointing out that if he had 9 key items on profcory's end, then you would probably want to take that too.
Yeah. Looks like LUF going for the triple check at the bottom of the moon here first, instead of peeking in on the default crystal sword altar. I don't see profcory having any problem with this boss fight here, so I'm going to focus on LUF. And we get a Baigen. Ooh, ouch. That's going to hurt in that spot. That spot has, well, high HP and pretty darn high physical attack too, which is something that Baigen specializes in.
Yeah, he's just gonna say no and leave out of that one. I can't say I blame him. And that next check is going to be Golbez.
Now, the thing is, that fight is doable, but once again, it's going to be a huge time investment. He does have a few star veils, so if you pop on a star veil, Golbez is going to do most of the work himself. But you have to sit through the cutscene. You're going to have spells flying everywhere, and spell animations take forever. So instead, Luf's going to check on this third boss. Oh, and frogs, by the way. They're so cute. Look at the cute froggos.
They are absolutely adorable. Karate at that final spot, however, is not very adorable.
Not at all. Not unless we find that Cecil. So a tough looking moon, this seed. But we might have to do it anyway. Just depends on where the key items lie.
And I think that's an interesting question. You know, the three that you found at this point, which one do you take? Because my instinct would be probably would try and take the Golbez, but that's still gonna be quite a while.
Yeah, I would take the Golbez just because it's a long fight, but it's an easy fight, right? It's a very manageable fight. It's just gonna take forever. But let's see if this spot gives us anything a little more doable. Oh, free! Free! King and Queen Evelyn are running their vanilla script, so they will just cast fire until they burn themselves out, and then they will go poof. So right now, obviously Tella's going to be the agility anchor here, because LUF is taking him out so that he does not gain experience from this boss fight, and thus does not raise his agility to too high of an amount.
Meanwhile, profcory is about to see what is at this, and it looks like he's got D-lunars in that super cannon room.
Yep, and that should be no problem with the amount of firepower we have going on right now. And King and Queen Evelyn go poof. Pelham gains 5 levels. Rydia gains a bunch of levels. Rosa gains a bunch of levels. Tella does not because he is inspecting the floor. And just a ninja sword, so... So unfortunately, only difficult boss fights coming up here for LUF.
This seed is just a little bit mean. And all of these checks that he's been doing for feels like half an hour have just not paid off for him, unfortunately. One of the tough breaks that you get occasionally in any randomizer.
Yep, and that shows you how deceiving some of these seeds can be, because at the beginning we're like, oh, this is going to be a jet seed. This is going to be easy peasy. And then the seed's like, nope, not today.
Well, we'll see if he'll end up taking that Golbez as the next thing. He does turn Sid into a pig.
Yes, that is because in this game, the status effects have a priority order, and Golbez's paralyzed status effect is below both Mini and Pig. So if you are Mini'd or Pig, you will not be paralyzed. It does not protect you from the Shadow Dragon's Om Nom Nom attack, but it does mean you won't be paralyzed, which means you can get up some star veils or walls, because Tella's on the floor. And I don't think Rosa has walls yet, so mostly star veils. And because Golbez is a boss that only does magical attacks, the reflect status effect here, super useful.
Yeah, and meanwhile, over on the other side, profcory did get the legend sword for that tower key, so now he has 2 different key items that put him in go mode, so he's definitely got to be happy with that.
Yeah, but we know those are probably going to be behind pretty hard bosses. It should be interesting to note, and this is very important, we still have not seen D-Mist. That means that D-Mist is either in the Baron basement, which is decent, or it's in the package, sneaky but easy, or it's in the giant, which is, oh boy.
Is it possible we might end up seeing a giant at this point? I feel like
Oh, and
both of our runners will pick everything else first.
default King and Queen Evelyn. That's also the other spot it could be. But will someone do... The nice thing is we have a Tella, so if you're in the giant, you can go ahead and do that D-Machine grind. But you do have to complete the giant, and we know only... No, I'm not going to say that, because that's... Yes, that is true. Only one key item can be in the giant behind D-Miss, because we already found our our objective character. So it might not be worth the time investment unless you're going to do a full D-Machine grind.
I believe we just saw an edge in bed in Kaipo as well, if they happen to find a sand ruby and decide that might be something they want.
That is true. LUF doing really great on this Golbez fight. Golbez can only kill one character at a time. LUF has 4 characters up. As long as you can keep those lives coming, keep those star veils up, should get through this fight.
Yeah, and I kind of have to feel like you're not going to go to the giant in this situation, because especially if you're profcory, because you know if you check every moon spot, if you check everything, it doesn't matter what's behind D-Mist, you will find that adamant or that hook before that, because D-Mist can only really be one key item unless it's being sneaky, which I don't think it's possible for it to be at this point.
I think the only chain we have left is Luca Key. Let me check through the tracker. Or Pan. Pan is also a key. Or also a key item that would result in a chain. And Rat Tail, but Rat Tail's barely a chain.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, you know, if you find D-Mist, great, but I don't think that either runner would go to the giant to hunt it down, especially with that vanilla giant flag when they don't know what else is there.
That is a very good point, and I agree with you. Look at all those tiny mages. They're so tiny. I have to lean in to see them.
It's absolutely adorable.
So small.
It's like Sid has gone back to the 90s, has gotten himself a collection of Beanie Babies that he's here to show to Golbez, and they're gonna do their best.
I would also, okay, okay. So profcory is doing a gold dragon fight here. This is another common level grinding method. If you use summon or sirens on a specific floor, they will summon this set of 2 gold dragons, which are worth a lot of experience. They are vulnerable both to stop / hourglasses and the weak spell. So if you play your cards right, you can take them out pretty quick and pretty risk-free. And they are worth a ton of experience. You can also life glitch the first dragon. Would you like to explain the life glitch?
So the life glitch is a interesting little quirk of the way that the game was programmed initially, in that if you revive something with a life spell or with the life potion, the amount of HP that it gets back is based on vitality stat. And if I'm remembering correctly, it works that every monster in the game has exactly 0 vitality. So when you drop that life potion on it before they disappear out, it revives them, they die again instantly, and you get the experience for that fight as well.
That is exactly correct.
Good, because I was really hoping it was, because I wasn't sure.
Yep, nope. They come back to life with 0 HP, which means they instantaneously die, but you still get the experience for the second kill.
Yeah, and that is one of the toggleable flags in the randomizer, but it is usually on for tournaments and big races like this, so pretty good trick to have in your toolbox if you're learning the game and didn't already know that.
Yep, if you start running free enterprise, I recommend you learn the life glitch pretty quickly. It's not the hardest thing to pull off. It does require a small amount of timing, but the timing window on it is actually pretty darn big. Oh,
No.
LUF picked up a pan. Where did that come from?
Chef Golbez dropped his pan on the way out, and so we're about to see what he gets for bonking Yang on the head with it.
Yeah, that's going to be 2 key item checks. One will come from our green little fairy friends, but that's just a grimoire. And the other key item check will come when we return the pan to Yang's wife. Unfortunately, LUF doing all these key item checks and none of them are resulting in key items, but hopefully Sheila will change that for us. Oh, profcory's in a red giant fight, and I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe took a step while forgetting to turn random encounters? Did he just get those 2 gold dragons? I'm not sure what happened there.
I think he's actually just manually level grinding here, running back and forth to get those encounters.
No sirens. And there's the hook! So in just a few seconds, LUF will be in go mode. He has to go grab his hovercraft and then plop it down in front of the path that leads to the tail trader, but as soon as he trades in that pink tail is going to be in go mode. Doesn't have a pass, so he will have to take the long walk down through the lunar basement, through the crystally bits in order to reach Zeromus, but does have a path there.
Yeah, the question is, can he? I think he might be able to with the levels he has, but it's gonna be a long fight.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does here.
That's the thing, is like, do you try and find a grind, or do you take the very slow fight that you have at that point with the second crystal sword that you still can't use?
I'll be honest, that's one decision point I still have trouble with. I'm not sure which would be faster, taking the slow Z fight or doing some level grinding. Is gonna go check out probably the shop here, hoping for sirens. Because Cave Eblan is a key item locked shop, it generally has higher tier items, which can include sirens. And the gamble pays off. Oh man, we got the Zeromus fight pack in here. Oh, it hurts to sell crystal swords. We got sirens, we got Bacchus wines, we got star veils. That is all we need to fight Zeromus. Well, a silk web would be nice, but we have 2 slow casters right now.
I think he also already found silk webs. I want to say they were back in the Troya shop way long ago when we checked that. So if he wants to go back and buy a couple, he's got it. But this is definitely the Seed's apology for everything that it just put LUF through.
So what a great move. Checking that shop and finding everything you need for your level grind and your Zeromus fight. Checking out the LUF, checking out the agility situation going on there. I still feel like Tella is at low enough agility to where he will make a good anchor. So yeah, LUF is just gonna probably go crack some eggs, since that is one of the easiest and fastest grinds. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does only have 9 key items, so we'll not be getting double experience unless I'm bad at counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am not bad at counting. There are 9 items there. Sid is not a good option for Berserk strats, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Palom go all the way up to the level at which he acquires the nuke spell, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we also see Rydia get there.
Yeah, he does only have those 14 sirens with the lack of the double XP from key items, and a few people in chat saying, wonderful community, saying they don't think there's enough for Rydia to get to nuke.
Yeah, and if Rydia doesn't get to nuke, you have 2 spellcasters. You can have Palom tossing nukes and Rydia tossing whites. And that is borderline for being able to do purely reflex strats. If you have some J items in there, your other characters can maybe throw a little bit of damage in there with like vampire or reflected vampires or something like that. You could also Berserk Sid. If you're good at counting HP amounts, which I personally am not, you can also Berserk Sid and then either knock him out or otherwise remove his Berserk status at the right point in order to not get Zeromus's HP refill. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about this Zeromus fight so hard, but profcory, having higher levels than LUF at this point in the moon, has elected to take this Bagan fight. And if they get an adamant rock out of this, it'll still pay off, right? Because we know there's 2 paths to Zeromus right now. LUF took one, which was getting the pan. But profcory could take another, which is getting the adamant rock.
Yeah, and he's in a little bit better shape. That could actually mean that, you know, if he wanted to do those 1200 HP strats, he's kind of already there.
But this Bagan fight, we're mostly blinked up here, so this should be very doable. While we're working through grinding / a Bagan, this is probably a good time to thank the Restream team. Of course, we have Nth here in the commentary booth with me. Behind the scenes, we have Scala Kitty running all the restreams, and we have Alchemy doing the tracking today, pushing all those buttons, making the UI light up. Very important jobs. Please follow all of them in addition to our runners. I know both of our runners do stream free enterprise regularly, so also check them out.
I'm just curious as to how much longer this Bagan is going to take, because I feel like he's been on that for quite a while, and these arms keep regenerating on him.
The nice thing is, I do believe you get experience every time you kill an arm and it comes back. So I have a feeling we're going to see huge experience numbers on this fight. This is a stable fight, though. The vampires are not doing much damage. profcory is doing a great job keeping those blinks up. And I mean, that's the only 2 things Bagan does is physical attacks, and his little arm friends will do vampire attacks. I guess he does do a 3rd thing, which is cast wall on his body. But that is something that Quake and or Summons will deal with on their own.
And you know, if he does get enough XP out of this and can skip that grind, then this could be good, because you have to expect that he'll take that Golbez fight, even if this doesn't pay off.
I think so. This is actually a lot closer than it looks. Because profcory doesn't have go mode yet, but he also has a lot more levels and will have to do a lot less grinding. Ooh, and thank you to Nutty Zoot for all those gift subs. Neato, I hope everyone enjoys having commercial-free viewing. That's my favorite part of gift subs.
Commercial-free viewing and access to RPG Break's wonderful selection of emotes as well. LUF has run out his sirens, and it looks now like he might be going to Baron Basement to hit that 10th key item, hopefully, or something. I don't know.
I don't know either. Because if you were gonna do that, I think I'd want to do it before the egg grind. I hope he realizes he's in go mode. Could be looking for a pass. Or
is Elements really gonna be the best fight you're looking for if you're just looking for a pass?
The one thing is the spot doesn't have a lot of HP, so a few strong spells probably will knock this out. Oh, but you're gonna... I don't know. We'll have to ask. It could be racing is tough, so it could just be a mental error. Or it could be a specific reason. I just don't know. Oof. Fire 3 is a little bit ouchy. Are we just out of money and looking for more experience? Are we not comfortable with the amount of levels we have? Nope. So my guess, being that he's heading back to the moon, is that was a last-ditch effort to find a pass and not have to take the approximately 5-minute walk through the entire lunar subterrane.
Yep, and you know, profcory would have been hoping at that point in time for the key item that would get him into his go mode, but unfortunately behind that Baigan was just another shirt and a sand ruby, so he's gonna have to take the Golbez fight now.
Yep, and we know that leads to go mode, but because profcory is higher level, he might actually try to take some of these other moon fights while he's here, which unbeknownst to him is actually going to slow him down. We'll see. I know some runners, when they're this close to go mode, will go do some save scumming. I don't like that term. We need to come up with some save manipulation. In order to check the item and still have a save on the moon. So if that item is a dead end, you can come back. Hopefully he does that. Otherwise, taking on these other fights is going to slow him down. Uh-oh, a little bit of trouble here. No, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, slightly bumpy Golbez fight, but he's stabilizing.
This isn't the ouchiest Golbez I've ever seen. LUF doing the zoomies through the lunar subterrane here. Let's see, I'm trying to get a look at his situation. Oh, it's gonna take a few dragons here, so maybe he actually was looking for that 10th key item. I thought he might be done with his grind, but it looks like not yet. Has decided to do a few of these golden dragons. That makes a lot more sense now. That's almost for sure what he was doing. Just trying to see if he can get that 10th key item before the moon.
Yeah, and I kind of like this play too. Use those eggs to get you up to the point where you're comfortable doing this King Ryu grind, and then go up here and finish up the rest. And now those 14 sirens look a bit stronger than they did before.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, profcory getting through that Golbez. Now, the question of the seed. And this could make a big difference. Does he chase this pan? Or does he keep doing the other bosses? Because it could be huge. And it's a randomizer. It's a race. He doesn't know that he's chasing the pan. Oh, this is close again.
Yeah, it looks like he's dropping that save there and going after the pan, which, he'll find out pretty quickly is the right option. Definitely a very good play there, making sure that if it's not, then you just reset and you already are back right where you were to start with.
This is a race again, for sure. This is huge. The fact that he's chasing this pan is huge.
The other question is, LUF is going back for the Spigen fight.
If you're chasing a 10th key item, there are 2 treasure chests here, so your probability of getting a key item is higher. But I don't know if this is worth the time investment.
He might be thinking he has no choice because, to get to a place where he's going to be comfortable on that Z fight, he needs to get that 10th key item so he can use those sirens.
That is true, and like I was saying before, this is actually an excellent fight for getting experience here, because taking out those arms over and over and over is going to get you a lot of experience. And yeah, this is actually good if you can't afford a lot of sirens. Just by default, this is one of the higher experience boss spot areas. Bigen makes that even better, but even if it were a single target boss, this is still a really good spot for experience. But we are seeing the effects of the I forget the name of the flag, but the one that makes money harder to get. The one that makes your items only sell for 1/4 of their value.
Yes, the SL, I believe it is. In this case, SL quarter.
We're definitely seeing that pressure of not being able to afford enough sirens. And there we go. profcory has his go mode. And he just realized that. You saw a little bit of stutter on the stairs there, like, oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So it'll be interesting to see how much grinding he does and when he does it and where he does it. Because you need your hovercraft. Yep.
And even with LUF a bit behind in this experience, profcory still has to wait through this cutscene, actually he already got the cutscene, has to grab the hovercraft, go get the pigtail turned in, and then beyond his grind still has to walk all the way down the moon, and LUF is already, halfway there if he's doing his grind there, so that's going to come into play as well.
Yep. I've done that so many times. I felt that lack of hovercraft because I've done that so many times. You're like, yes, I'm in go mode. Let's go. And then you're like, oh yeah, I actually need to pick up the proper vehicle. Okay, now profcory in go mode. Going to get a not very useful crystal sword. Because if Cecil's in this seed, he is tucked far, far away.
I'm interested in seeing where he goes from here. If he goes straight back to the moon, or if he ends up going to Eblin, or if he goes somewhere else. And it's looking like he might be considering whether or not he wants that edge for a second there.
Yeah, this is, I think, going to come down a lot to the level grinding here. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a store check for sirens. All the underground shops, on our current flag set, all the underground shops have a decent chance of having sirens. Cure 3s are useful, but I think you want to save all your money for sirens right now.
And another thing that's going to come into play too is profcory will, if and when he finds those sirens he's looking for, already has those 10 key items, so he's in a little bit of a better place. And also, if he wants to just go straight for that King Ryu grind, then he doesn't have to crack a bunch of eggs first to make sure that he's safe to do it.
That is an extremely good point. Honestly, given that, I think that puts him slightly back in the lead.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because I also don't know how much HP the Spigen has left at this point.
I feel like he's got to be getting close. LUF has been... Yeah, there it is. I have good instincts, I swear.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like every time I ask how much HP something has left, it dies in the next attack that lands afterwards, but he will get that 10th key item with the Sand Ruby there.
Yeah, after you play Free Enterprise enough, even if you're not an HP counter, you get a good feel for how much HP each spot has. Just, you develop an intuition if you play a lot. Then, of course, there are runners who literally count HP, right? And profcory also finding those sirens and those Bacchus wines and those star veils. Because he has 10 key items, I am foreseeing an egg grind here. But it is entirely possible, since you have to walk through the entire lunar subterrane anyway. Dragons are just as viable. Yeah, Y2 Sky mentions he bought hourglasses as well, going gold dragons. Yes, that is a good indication of that.
Yeah, it really does just come down to that grind time at this point. I think profcory is still a tiny bit ahead, but he still has to walk to where that is, so this
yeah,
is
that's
extremely
true.
close.
This is a very close race. I can tell that already. But Zeromus is the great equalizer. Even if you've done Zeromus 100 times, he can still throw that nasty Big Bang into Meteo right at you and knock you down. So it is never over until someone puts that done into the race spot.
And really, there's some execution to the grind too with the life glitch available. It's who can execute that properly. I believe Palom just got Nuke over on LUF's side, so we'll see whether or not he's going to drag that Rydia up to Nuke as well. Oh, only has 2 sirens left though.
And before we get into our Zeromus fight again, I'd just like to thank all the Restream team again. Scala Kitty on the Restream. We got Alchemy doing the track-in and talking the talk with me here. And I also want to remind you one more time before we get into the meat of things that we do have many more races being restreamed today. At 7 p.m. we have one over on Free Enterprise. That's Harumph versus PK. Over on Randomania, the default Randomania channel, because I know they have lots of sub-channels. We have Flurry versus Nightdew, which those are 2 excellent players, so that's one I'm specifically going to try to tune into. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. And finally tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern, we have Slippery versus Endoto over also on the Free Enterprise channel. So if you are a Free Enterprise fan, please check those out today. We also have a few other unstreamed races going on, so you can go cheer on those individual runners on their streams. If you're ever looking for information on this tournament in specific or Free Enterprise in general, we have an official Free Enterprise Twitter account that always tweets out when races are going live. We have an official Free Enterprise Discord. It's a great community. I highly recommend it. And if this game looks interesting to you, that's also a great place to get started. But that also has several channels dedicated to the tournament that you can peek in and see all the different races. So please go check those out.
And you know, LUF is finished with his grind, and we're seeing a lot of those flags in chat. I believe it is coming up on that time right now.
Oh, would you like to take the honors?
I believe, in the words of Japanese Golbez, we're currently at the point of time where we ask whose cuisine reigns supreme. But more importantly, we also ask, whose butt are we going to kick this afternoon?
That is right. If you are new to the randomizer, we do not randomize the stats or scripts of the final boss. The script's too complicated, his stats are way too high, his abilities are way too strong. If we put him anywhere in the seed, it would just throw off the balance of the entire randomizer. So rather than randomizing where he is, we randomize what he looks like. There are, I know, over 500 sprites, some done by Boardspace, a lot done by Scala Kitty, to choose from. So let's see who we're gonna get tonight. Do you have a favorite Zeromus sprite?
My absolute favorite is hummus, which is exactly what it sounds like.
I saw that for the first time recently. That's great. Yeah, because hummus. Get it? Get hummus. Anyway. My personal favorite is Theatrhythmus because I am a huge rhythm gamer.
But we've got that 1 in 525 chance here, so let's see what we've got.
Grrg. That looks familiar. I know what this is from. I don't know what this is from. Okay, help me out. Dark Fact from... Oh, yes! I just played through Ys 1. I should know this. This is the final boss of Ys. And I should remember this because he's way harder than the entire rest of the game. The rest of the game's not that hard, and then suddenly, bam, final boss kicks your butt.
Which is a very fitting replacement for Zeromus, and if you were playing through Vanilla before as a kid, noticing that giant difficulty spike right there.
Yes, I'm actually slowly playing through all the Ys games, and they're actually really good. Highly recommend. But anyway, back to the randomizer. This is not gonna be a gimme fight for LUF, definitely. Reflex strats are just a little harder in general. The timing's a little tighter. But if you keep calm, you just focus on your timing, it should be doable. It's not free, but it's not going to be the hardest Zeromus fight I've seen either.
Yeah, and you know, reflect strats can be that bit of tricky with timing, but they're also pretty stable usually because you're skipping that HP reset along the way that happens if you're not through that one little gap quickly enough. So he's gonna be having a not too bad, well, unless that big bang takes out most of the party.
Ow, rude. That was a particularly high roll. Okay, we're probably gonna have to go into recovery mode here. Luckily, getting the black hole, that gives you a few extra turns to get back up.
It has been pointed out that he might have forgotten to turn down battle speed and might be doing this on BS1 as well.
Ooh. Handling it pretty good. We're mostly back up here. We got 3 characters back up. Rose is probably not going to get... I feel like Palam's probably going to go down again. Yep. Meanwhile, profcory also going into this fight. So I love seeing a one-on-one race where both runners are in the Zeroma's fight at the same time. Always exciting.
Yep, and that Rudy is staying up is
hard. Those whites are coming fast and hitting hard, so definitely not out of it here. Sid is being the best chemist right now. That's it! That's a GG! That's the shake! So congratulations to LUF, who takes a victory in his first match of the Lali-Ho League Swiss round. That was excellent. Let's see if we can get him in for an interview. Okay. Let's see. We'll see if that happens, but meanwhile, profcory going into the Defactimus fight as well. I would imagine using a pretty similar strategy. And we are joined by LUF. Congratulations on your victory. Good job.
Thank you. What a surprise. I was not expecting this seed. I was not expecting at all to be competitive against profcory, who is a very good player. Wow. That was a lot of emotions. Okay. Wow. Well, first of all, that seed, that was so many overworld checks. I did not expect that many overworld checks that would be actually useful, and now I'm kind of wondering what was behind the tower. I'm kind of wondering there was a Cecile out there or anything useful like that. But please go ahead. I'm sure you've got some question about all this. I actually messed up some stuff, so I'm quite wondering what's gonna be the first question.
We did notice you were having a little bit of difficulty getting enough levels. You sort of changed your strategies for acquiring levels. What were you thinking during that time?
Well, that part I was kind of okay. I'm just gonna crack some eggs. I knew I still have 4 hourglasses, so I was kind of okay. I'm gonna start by cracking eggs. I'm gonna see where it puts me, and if I feel high enough, I'm not going to try to get the 10 key items and simply do 4 gold dragons. That did not happen though. At first I wasn't quite sure. I did one dragons and I was like, oh no, this is not gonna cut it at all. I did not have any table near, so I was pretty much winging it. So I just said, okay, let's do the ribbon room. It's good XP. I need XP anyway. I'm kind of ready to do that big N5. I knew it was there. I already checked it. I already checked pretty much everything I could check beforehand. If there's actually one piece of advice I can give anyone, checks before doing anything, especially when you're at the moon. So I was okay, big N. I've got Quake, I've got Iridia. I know this is not a very hard fight, just need to time this well. And I'm probably gonna get my 10 key item there and simply get more XP after that. So I was kind of winging it, but at the same time I was... that scenario was in my head.
And I just want to pop in for a moment and say that Prof. Corey has finished with an official time of 1 minute 50, or 1 minute, I wish, 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 26 seconds. It was an extremely close match, so GG's to Prof. Corey. One more question I have for LUF. How upset were you when you saw that wyvern?
Well, first, before answering that, GG, Profcory. I don't know. I'm really curious. I want to watch this back. I want to see where you went, what you did, because I kind of feel like you got lucky somehow with the roads I took. But yeah, let's come back to the wyvern. Oh boy. So I'm like, oh, do I reset? This is the Fable Gauntlet. It's gonna be long. I don't have the fastest team for this. I know my viruses are not gonna kill everything. I know I need to save some NP for the second fight. And I'm like, this is gonna be long. This is taking way too long. I'm getting behind. And then I see the wyvern, and I'm like, oh, I'm in deep trouble. I already actually got the wyvern there with kind of a very similar team, and I knew I was no match at all. I knew this was not gonna work. So yeah, I tried anyway when I saw that Palom did not get Mega Nuke, but obviously it was just too fast and got whacked. Also, that plague fight, I actually thought that had Sid Berserk, and I was like doing the revive strat and all, and was, what's going on? What's going wrong right there? I was very stressed at the moment. I was pretty much sure that Prof. Corey was actually ahead. So I was kind of nervous, did a very bad mistake, still end up winning, which is somewhat very incredible. I really have to watch that race again.
Yeah, it was a very good one, and thank you so much for running today. That was super entertaining to watch. I just, good luck, English. I wish you good luck on your next match. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we see if we can get Prof. Corey in for an interview here?
Yes, just one last thing. Thanks everyone in the Restream and in the Restream team. All your efforts are very appreciated, and obviously thanks everyone that simply organizing the tournament. It's a very cool event, and everyone in the community is quite fun. So I'm gonna let simply Prof. Curry do his interview. By the way, I just hear that you're online now. GG.
Oh, let's see. Prof. Corey, we got you, but I will say thank you so much, LUF. It was a great race. Congratulations on your win. And I will definitely be watching your next race. And I think we have Prof. Corey, but I can't hear you right now.
Do you hear me now?
I hear you now. Yes, audio is difficult.
Yep. My audio says some weird things sometimes, but I'm here now. GG to LUF. That was a seed.
I'm gonna ask you the first question. Well, the big question I asked LUF. What did you think of that wyvern?
Yeah. I'm very frustrated about that because I lucked out. I dodged it with both of my black mages, and I was like, okay. I just gotta burst this down. The thought went through my head like, okay, do I set up a reflect on Rydia and then cast a Sylph to bounce another Mega Nuke? Like, I had that idea, and then I was like, no, I should just try to get through its HP. I don't know how fast this thing's gonna be. And then I just forgot the first thing that I thought of, which is that it responds with Mega Nuke, and I just threw the Sylph at it and did not get so lucky on the second Mega Nuke. So I'm not happy about that. I decided to go back through it because I don't know, sunk cost fallacy. Maybe I probably should have walked away, but I was like, you know what, this is an annoying spot. If this turns out to be important, then I can get through this, and maybe this will give me an advantage. And it was half true, I guess. The tower key gave me half of forge, but then it turned out to be easier just to turn into Pinktail anyway. I think that was the theme of the seed for me, is that I did a bunch of hard stuff that took a long time to do and was not really rewarded for it.
So, as a commentator, I have, a top-down view of the seed, and you couldn't have possibly known at the time, but your best move was checking on that pan the second you received it. I kind of want to know your thought process about that.
Yeah, I think that is what I did, right? I think I got the pan up from Golba's and then reset out right away. And I guess I chose to do that because my party was still like weak. I didn't have nuke on anybody yet. So like going through these moon bosses was taking a while. And I just figured, like, you know what, I'll check 2 pan spots on the earth and maybe I'll pop into like the barren basement or something like that, and then if none of that works, then I'll go back to the moon and keep working my way through those. So it was just like thinking that my party was not very strong and that killing moon bosses was going to be slow relative to going back to the earth and checking pan.
Yeah, that was a good play. I will say that for sure. That was a good race. It was really, really close. You have nothing to be ashamed of because that was a fantastic watch from up here in the broadcasting booth. I think, Nth, do you have any questions? I think that's everything from me. And profcory, do you have any other thoughts, comments, anticipation?
Yeah, I guess I'll try not to be too hard on myself. The wiping to the wyvern the way I did is the one thing that I'm like really disappointed about. Tackling the earth crystal and beating the Val at the Mega Sisters, which is a pretty rude spot to run into her. Like I feel good that I got through it. I don't think I really regret going up there because if I found a Cecil or a Fu or an Edge, I was happy with any of those 3. Then I was feeling good. Just happened to run into nobody useful and a package that led to Kane, which I was not going to sit through. So it was unlucky there. I feel like that could have worked out. So I don't have regrets there. Again, GG to LUF. I'm happy for him. Before the race, he was, I caught the beginning of the interview. He was saying he was surprised that he won. But this is kind of how free enterprise goes. Sometimes you win when you least expect it, and he absolutely deserves to get a win here. This was a tough seed by the standards of this flag set.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks again so much for letting us restream you today. It was a great race. profcory definitely not out of it yet. We're still in the Swiss rounds. There's still multiple chances to come back. So stay tuned, everyone. But with that, I think that comes to the end of this restream. We are going to send you over to Invenerable, who has been doing an excellent lecture series on free enterprise and different strategies with different bosses. So we're going to take you over to that. So if you are just learning free enterprise, this will be a great way to do that. With that, I think I'm going to say goodbye. Any final words, Nth?
No, just looking forward to seeing this class as well. Remember, today's class over on Invenerable stream will be on Kane Not-So. So if that's a boss that you have particular difficulties with, it'll be a great one to join in. And I just want to say thank you to our runners, the Restream team, and of course also to RPG Limit Break for hosting us today.
Yep, I think that's it for us. So we will see y'all in the next race.